right? So validation, point number one, this person is speaking, they're having an experience or they had an experience, and therefore it is an experience to be regarded. I'm witnessing it. I'm witnessing the expression of it, and the expression of it is allowed. The expression of it is part of our human experience. That's validation on the first level. Can you do that? Because a lot of times you go straight into invalidating their experience. What? No, you didn't. No, you do all of that. Okay. I can remember, I have a brother, and my brother is 4 years younger than I am. And so growing up, I felt like my dad was real hard on me. He didn't let me do a lot of things, but then my brother could do them sooner. Right. And so I tried to talk to him about that when I was older. And I was like, this is what I experienced growing up with you. No, you didn't. You should be lucky. You blah, 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 blah. I tried to talk to my brother and be like, he would be complaining, man, dad ain't let me do this and mama won't let me do that. And I'd be like, boy, when I was your age, I couldn't even. You should be grateful. That is so invalidating. So, hey, babe, I want you to take some time to think about situations where you immediately invalidated a person's experience and you really wanted to be close to them. You said you loved them or love them. You said that you want to get to know them. And as soon as they started talking about something you didn't like or disagreed with, you just went into invalidation. Think about that time. Can you think about a time? Can you remember a time? This is self-assessment time. Hey, Sammy. Hey, Rondell. Self-assessment time. Can you think about a time where you just immediately went in and invalidated somebody's experience simply because you disagreed? What? No, that is not what happened. So we're going to stop doing that. And you're going to, even if you can't get to a deep level, right, at least you or the person has some complaint and you be like, oh girl, if at least you got that. I have to do this. Okay. Another way you unintentionally invalidate someone's experience is when you hurry to say me too and resonate with it without fully hearing them out. You say me too. Oh, I understand. You're saying that your experience is the validation. So they don't even need to tell you. Have you ever told somebody something like, you don't need to explain, I get you. No, they do need to explain if that's what they're doing, if that's what they want to do. Hey, King Ohaji, yeah. So we trying to have some different kind of relationships around here. I don't know about you. Is there anybody on the screen that wants something healthy? That wants something out of the norm, something that really feels connected, something that really feels intimate? If that's you, type yes, because that's what we're trying to do in this audience. This is what this community is about, right? So you unintentionally invalidate someone's experience when you haven't heard them out fully. You haven't asked any questions. They just say something. You say, yeah, me too. I be experiencing that too. And then you change the subject. So on the first level of validation, we're going to realize that this person is speaking. Love and ball. Okay. I got you. Thank you for being here. This person is speaking and they're telling me of an experience. And I am regarding it. It's worth regarding. It's worth listening to. When we validate one another's experience, we communicate that you're meaningful as a human. Your experiences that you have matter to me, apart from me. They matter because you're having them. That's what validation does. Validation reflects significance on a very basic level that most people have not received growing up. Can you remember times in your childhood where you told your parents something was hurting and they said, go lay down, go drink some water, go sit down? I used to hear, go, I would say my eye hurt, go in the sun. Your stomach hurt, your stomach don't hurt, you just blah, blah, blah. You're not hungry, you just ate. Invalidating. You complain about something, they say you should be grateful because I didn't have to do this. Invalidating. You get so used to being invalidated that you invalidate other people and you don't even know it. And if they tell you you're doing it, you would say, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. Okay, so I'm here to shine the mirror in your way, so in your direction, so you can see how you want to shift in order to be healthier, right? Because sometimes you're in relationship with people and they're telling you things about yourself, but you don't receive it. However, you might come on this live and receive it, right? So we're going to stop invalidating. How are we going to do that? You're going to realize that this person who's important to you, whatever's coming out of their mouth is worth being regarded. Whatever is coming out of their mouth is their experience. Can I go a step further? The fact that this person I really care about is sharing an experience with me, I hold it as sacred. Anytime my loved one shares an experience with me, it's a sacred exchange. We are about to touch heart to heart. Now, imagine you don't hold it as sacred because you're so used to invalidating people, even yourself. We're going to get to that. You never touch their heart. You never touch it. And that's why I said there's levels to it. Because sometimes you could tell someone that's valid, but you don't hold it as sacred at all. You don't even value it. You're just trying to say it so they can get out of your way or something. You're just trying to hear it because you're trying to move on to something else. You zone out or something like that, right? So just saying that's valid is not necessarily validation, right? It's a surface level attempt. I'm talking about when you want to be close to people. Now, you want to do that to the people in the store, right? Do that. But when you're saying, I want to be intimate, hey Z, then you need to stop the invalidation right away. If this person said something to you, it's important. It's sacred. It's worth hearing. It's worth listening to. It's worth them expressing. Sometimes you have felt that a person didn't even have to say what they said. You didn't even have to say that. You could have just been quiet. Have you heard that? You didn't even have to say nothing. Why you had to say something? You thought that about others. Why did you open your mouth? I'm talking about people you're close to, okay? So you can say this is valid. You can even do the mental exercise of saying, you know what, this person is talking and what they're saying is valid. But now I'm trying to help you drop into your heart space. Do you see it as sacred and valuable? Do you see it as sacred and valuable? Notice, I didn't say nothing about feeling their pain. I didn't say nothing about you know how they feel because you felt it too. I didn't say none of that. I'm talking about just the fact that words are coming out of their mouth. Do you see that as valuable? Do you see communication as a sacred exchange? Do you see it as something beneficial? Do you see it as something worth listening to when you really care about the person? You got to ask yourself that question. And have you been acting like it? When a person has been sharing something with you, have you treated it like it was valuable? Have you treated their experience as if it was worthy of being had? Did you do that? Think about the last time you had a hard conversation. Let me tell you how you know, because some people gonna say, oh yeah, I did that. No, you didn't, if the person was still fussing. There's something about validation that will begin to disarm a charge. If the person was still fussing, you might have said, that's valid, but did you treat it as sacred? Right. And King Ohadi, that's why I'm starting from the very beginning. Do you even think the words that come out of their mouth are important, are valuable, are sacred? Let's talk about sacred, okay? Because I find that that's an element missing in communication between people who are trying to be healthy. Sacredness. A lot of people use this word, but I don't think a lot of people understand it, because I could tell it shows in how they communicate. So, you know what I like to do? I'm going to look it up. In the meantime, tell me, does that make sense? Do you see yourself in this? And I'm not talking about all the good self. I'm trying to show you your shadow. Do you see your shadow qualities in here and the way you invalidate people unconsciously and consciously? And remember, I don't think you could do this all day long with everyone. I don't. That's why I'm specifically talking about people you care about. For example, my children, they're in my home every day. No matter how I'm feeling, what they're saying is valid. No matter what I'm doing, what they're saying is valid. I hold it dear. The fact that they're saying something to me. So we take communication for granted, so for granted, that you think that a person has to talk to you. You know how many people in this world wish they had someone expressing something to them? When people express something to you, it reflects significance. Okay? You know how many people are in relationships with people who are shut down and they wish they would talk, and you got a person talking and you invalidating the experience. But you know why you do that? Because you invalidate yourself. We're going to talk about that. I haven't forgotten. But I want to look up the word sacred. Yeah, we're developing deep listening skills, right? It says, dedicated to a religious purpose and so deserving veneration. Let's look up veneration. Oh, here's another definition, y'all. Regarded with great respect and reverence by a particular group or individual. How about that? The fact that you're saying something, anything, is of great respect. Just imagining that feeling of sacredness is giving me goosebumps. Have you ever been treated with such great respect? Your words I'm talking about. Just the fact that you're speaking, not the depth of what you're saying, not the truth of what you're saying, not the wisdom of what you're saying. Just the fact that you're talking, this person holds great respect and reverence for the fact that you are moving your lips and sound is coming out toward them. Have you ever experienced that? Let me read another definition. It says, okay, that was sacrosanct. Oh, that's not it. So let me look up veneration next. Such great respect. You know what happens when a person has great respect and reverence for your communication? They pay attention. They look at you. They stop what they're doing and regard what you just typed. They don't go into their own head talking about me too. They go, wait a minute, this person is speaking to me. And it commands my attention. Yes, and you miss it all the time when on the basketball court. Okay. They look at you. They stop. They attend to the words that are coming out of your mouth more than you do, probably. Right? Let's look up veneration. Great respect, reverence. Okay? In order to validate someone's experience beyond just an intellectual, I hear what you're saying. Have you ever had somebody tell you that and you knew that they wasn't really paying attention or deeply regarding it? And what did it make you do? It made you want to say, no, you don't. No, you don't get it. No, no, you don't. Right? That's your hint. If a person is saying, no, you don't, then you are not in their experience yet. Did you hear what I said? The point of intimacy is to have a shared experience. But if you're saying you do validate them and they're saying, no, you don't, then you're not having a shared experience. You're having shared conflict. Right. They go, yeah, because yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you, love and bone. So we're going to stop right there. I talk to people a lot, y'all. I have a lot of conversations and I hear a lot. I hear a lot of unconsciousness, especially where words are concerned. Now, because I love words so much, people have the tendency to say, well, I didn't use the right word. No, you used the right word. That word came out of your brain. Your consciousness and your subconscious worked together and produced that word. And that word is giving rich information about the frequency of your inner landscape. And so they'll say, well, no, that wasn't the right word. Maybe I'm not using the right words. Maybe I'm not using the right words. And they don't even get that I greatly regard your words that came out of your mouth. I didn't just overlook it. I didn't just act like I knew what it meant. I started talking about it, right? And you move and invalidate yourself. That happens a lot. Instead of stopping and going, let me think about why I used that word, because that's not really what I was trying to convey, but that came out of me. So let me see what thought process is behind that. No, you invalidate yourself. Your own words, you invalidate them. You invalidate yourself. I know I shouldn't think that. I know I shouldn't say that. I know that's wrong. I know that's bad. That sounds silly. You say something and you hurry up and invalidate it yourself. I know that sounds silly. Let's just not talk about it. Don't just disregard what I said. You don't even have great respect for your own communication. I listen to that because I know that eventually that's going to apply to me as well. Something is going to be to something. Something is going to be just overboard or whatever, right? I listen to that, and a lot of people do it. Every word that comes out of your mouth, I'm talking about you, for you, to you. Every word that you think is rich information. Every word that you say is rich information. And listen, I'm not talking about that spiritual bypassing thing where people go watch what you say and you walk around scared to say something. That's not what I'm talking about. Because what those people have not taught is that in order to really change your reality, you got to listen to your words to know what really exists in there. Because your consciousness will be telling you you believe something else, and your unconscious will be really in another frequency. So you don't need to suppress that, ignore it, and shut it down. Yes, T, it's so real. Every single word that you think is important, it's valid. It's giving good information about you. And where can we start in this validation process? We can start with self. You need to say what it is that you want to say, right? Or maybe you feel like you want to become more adept or, in a flow of communication patterns and stuff. And that's okay. But what you have to say is still valid. Maybe you don't need to say it to the person. Maybe you need to say it to a coach. Maybe you need to say it to a therapist. Maybe you need to say it to a healer, not necessarily to the person, right? So a lot of people get caught up in my feelings are important. My emotions are important. And so they start trying to tell people who can't handle it. And then they pull back and say, see, that's why I don't open up. You need to have an outlet where you can say whatever it is you want to say in the rawest form. You need that. Otherwise, you're going to go back into invalidating. I don't want them to see me a certain way, and I don't want to seem this. And you don't want to hurt people because your words are not, they're so edgy or whatever, but you need to say it somewhere to someone. Yes, your voice recording is great. Yep, your journal is awesome. But when you express to another human being and they look at you, they put their attention on you, it resonates with your soul. So humility does not require us to invalidate. So in fact, being humble is thinking soberly about yourself, right? So if you're really good at something, saying I'm really good is not against humility. It's true. Sometimes people think being humble means you need to suppress truth. No, we need to live in truth, right? So some people do invalidate themselves in the name of being humble. Who, me? Not me. Little old me. Me? Oh, I tried. You better say, yes, I agree with you. You did see? Yeah, it's real. All right. So we have validation. Number one, the fact that someone is speaking to you that you love is valid. It's an experience worth regarding, right? Number two, the fact that they're speaking to you is a sacred experience. And if you don't think that, I think you need to deepen into your spirituality. It's a sign that you may need to deepen into spirituality. And why I say that? Because when you have a connection to the divine, and anything the divine is communicating with you is sacred. When you have a relationship, a connection to the divine, any divine message you highly regard it. It catches your attention. People who don't have a strong spiritual practice will have an additional hard time validating themselves and others. You are an iteration of God. When you speak, God is speaking. About your inner landscape. And it's not just in words. It's in visions. It's in impressions. It's in experiences. When you speak, God is speaking. When others speak to you, God is speaking. Maybe you don't like God. Maybe I should say the divine. What you're saying is divine. Your experience is divine. And you need to align with people who see it that way. You need to come into that realization with the divine and with self and share it with others. And you need to be aligned with others who can see it that way also. There's no way in the world you should be fussing over just a basic expression, begging someone to listen or regard it or see. That's not the way it needs to be. It doesn't have to be that. But you gotta listen to the way people see the world. You gotta listen to the way that people regard themselves. That's going to tell you whether or not they align for that experience or not. The experience of validation. If they immediately invalidate themselves, if they don't have a depth of listening, if when you share something, they skate past it, overlook it, bring up another topic, change the topic, insert themselves, this person is saying to you, I do not know how to validate an experience. I just know how to be in my own head and talk from that. That's what it's telling you. Can you see that? And I'm preaching this very passionately because I think we don't know it. You grow up like kind of begging for people to listen to you, begging for people to see. Hey, Queens. You grow up begging for someone just to put their eyes on you, to stay long enough to even hear the words that are coming out of your mouth. And you don't realize that that's not the way it has to be. And I know it doesn't have to be that way because I live it with my children. They were my training ground. They're not begging me to listen to them. They're not begging me to see that what they're saying is important. It doesn't matter how small it is. They're so sacred to me. Their experience matters so much to me that I want to plug in. And if I can't plug in that moment, I will circle back around and I will say, this is really important to me. And I don't want you to think this not. I just have to go to my client. But when I come back, I really want to talk about this. Or text me while I'm on my way. You can text me. You can send a voice memo in the meantime. Validation is crucial when you are trying to develop intimacy. You want to know where the biggest intimacy block is between people who have just met is this. They don't know how to validate. They don't validate themselves. Thank you, Mike. And they don't know how to validate one another, so they start off on the rockiest ground. And the whole rest of the relationship is topsy-turvy, them trying to find their balance. It begins with the fact that you're talking to me is sacred. The fact that you're having an experience is sacred. The fact that you want me to hear it is sacred. And I want to regard it as such. I regard it as such by, number one, I'm not going to minimize it. I'm not going to have expressions that give the message of what you're saying is too much. Oh my God. Oh, I'm not going to do all of that. That's what validation is saying. I'm not going to jump and invalidate it right off the bat. I'm not going to insert myself into it. This is where being in a lovership begins to be a spiritual practice. It's a prayer. Every conversation you have is saying what you want more of and what you want less of. And the more you invalidate, the more you minimize, the more you trivialize, the more you disregard the people you love, it's saying this is the frequency I'm setting. This is the characteristic of the relationship that we're going forward in. So you have to be able to say to people, this is not the experience I want to have in communication. Because I know it doesn't have to be like this. All of the crying that we do to get someone to see and understand, that doesn't need to happen. The feelings of invalidation, the feeling of I shouldn't have said that, I'm not saying that, that doesn't need to happen. But it does happen a lot, right? I know I'm telling the truth because I hear it in coaching sessions. I hear it in my own world, right? Validation. So now that we've got validation together, I want to move on to sympathy. Because a lot of people are confusing these terms and they swear their communication is top notch. and it leaves much to be desired. Have you ever had an experience with a person who said, I'm a good communicator, and you be like, when? Where? When do you do that? I would love to experience that with you. I'm gonna wait. Oh, communication is key. Everybody will say that. Communication is key. And then right off the bat, they do exactly what I'm saying. And I just sit there like, this is good communication in their world. Okay, I see. But this ain't what I want. That's where it goes, right? So, sympathy. Once you have validated that what this person is saying is worth hearing, a lot of people want to rush and offer sympathy. This is how I would express sympathy. Sympathy is hearing their pain, but seeing it through your eyes. I don't want sympathy. You can keep it. It's not beneficial. Personally, I'm talking about. Somebody else might like it. So, for example, if I say I have cramps, let's say that. I have cramps. Oh, my cramps hurting so bad. Or I just say I have cramps. And you go, ooh, girl, I know how that is, because, when I have cramps, ooh, I just be wanting to lay out, and I don't want nobody to talk to me, and I don't want nothing else. You know what? I'm not even going to bother you. Go lay down, go get you some rest, because I know how that feels. And when you feel ready, you just call me, and then blah, blah, blah. That's sympathy. Defensiveness gets in the way, yeah. Notice, I didn't ask the person what they need. I didn't ask them what's the worst part. I didn't ask them anything about them. As soon as they said that, I immediately went in my head, looked at it from my eyes, and told them what to do. Go lay down. Why? Because when I have cramps, I want to lay down. So you need to go lay down. Well, what if laying down is not beneficial to them? Like for me, laying down is not beneficial. I need to move. So when someone telling me go lay down, I'm going to be like, you go lay down. I don't want to. Won't you go lay down? You keep saying that. Or, right, what you would do is different. That's why sympathy is not the best way to cultivate intimacy. It's not. I'm not saying it's not useful. It's just not the best way. Every now and then it is. Some lights just came on, I say. Think about this. When you are sympathizing, you are cutting off their whole experience and bringing your experience to the forefront, how you feel. This is AKA absorbing people's pain. Oh, I know how they feel. I just hurt because they hurt. No, you hurt because you are plugging into your own pain. When you hurt, I hurt. People say that all the time. That's sympathy, right? So when a person is moving from sympathy, they'll start thinking for you. Well, I didn't ask you to go to dinner because I know how it feels to have cramps. I just let you sleep. The whole time you laying in the bed thinking, I wish somebody would invite me to dinner. Sympathy makes you look from your own point of view. Now, you might need that when you're in a situation with someone you don't know that well, like on the job, right? You might send them a get well card because you know how it is to be sick. Or in a situation of homelessness, yeah. You know how you would feel if it was cold outside, so you went and bought a coat and gave it to them. That's altruism. That sympathy helps us be altruistic. But notice you're not being intimate with that person. You're just trying to meet a need, right? A lot of times you don't really ask them what they need the most. You give them what you think they need the most. Sympathy. Can you see that? Can y'all see sympathy? How sympathy is hearing their pain, but seeing it from your eyes and reacting from your point of view. That is not going to help intimacy. Thinking for people. When you do it often and you're not plugging into them, how are you getting to know them? Think about this. Have you ever, let's say, ordered something at a restaurant with a person, right? And it was really good. So they loved that you were happy. Loved that you were happy. They were like, oh, I'm so glad you're enjoying it, blah, 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 blah. But you enjoyed it just for that day. It's not something that you would have wanted again. But you loved it while it was there, right? A person who is moving in sympathy will be like, oh, I just feel excited when you're excited. And I saw you really like this meal, so I brought it again for you today. And you like, I didn't really want that again. I was happy when I was eating it. It was good when I had it. But I don't really want that again. But now you got to think about how you want to say that. If you're going to say it, you might just take it and say thank you and not want it. Have you ever experienced that? Or I saw you really like this, so I got it for you. I just love seeing you happy. And then you be like, I didn't really like it like that. It's better than not doing anything if one falls short. So King Benjamin started, I think you might have just popped on. What I'm talking about is intimacy. And so I'm trying to help the community self-reflect on how some of this may be blocking intimacy in their lives, right? So I hear you when you say it's better than not doing anything, but I'm really talking about the cultivation and shifting things that need to be shifted, not really the bare minimum, right? So I get what you're saying about that though. So now we've talked about validation. We talked about sympathy. Can y'all see sympathy? Do you see it in the way that I described it? I'm going to stop right here and see. And then we're going to move to empathy. Okay. All right, good. And tap the screen if you can. So empathy, where sympathy is hearing their pain but seeing it from your point of view. Empathy is hearing their pain and stepping into their experience and is seeing it from their point of view. That means you can be in their point of view and not sympathizing. In other words, you don't have to turn that into your personal experience. You don't realize, thank you, Mike, you don't realize that by causing your feelings, your thoughts, your perspective to come forward, it's blocking you from seeing theirs. Yes, Love and Bow. You don't see how doing that blocks information because you go into your head. Listen, you already know what you know. You don't know what they know. So instead of going into your head, you stay out of your head and you stay in theirs, which means you are asking questions. What kind of questions? In coaching, we call them exploratory questions. You explore their experience with them. It's like walking in their house and letting them show you, okay? What thoughts are you thinking? What thoughts were you thinking when that was happening? When it ended, where were you? What did you say? What was the worst part? What was the best part? What was the hardest part? Right? I hear you say you love X, Y, and Z. What do you love about it? You are immersing yourself in their experience. It's not about you and how you went to the place too and you loved it. There's a time for that. But listening to what a person is saying when they're, especially when they're bringing a problem to you, but when you want to connect, even over positive things, you're going to have to learn how to ask exploratory questions. If a person says, I had a bad day today, you're not going to say, oh, it's going to get better, or change the subject. When you're trying to plug in, what was bad about it? Talk to me. What was the worst part? What made that bad? Because sometimes you don't see why it's bad. And you might go into invalidate and going, well, look on the bright side. No, no, no. Yes, grabbing your hand and walking you through. Show me what this experience was for you. How are you experiencing it now? Like, as we're talking about it, what are you experiencing? A lot of people don't want to be that deep into someone. And this is why they miss a lot of information. And this is why they can't get as close as they want to, because they let all kind of information fly out. Valuable pieces of info. I could say my eye hurt and somebody's going to say, oh, my eye was hurting too yesterday, girl. I know how that feels. Oh, I get you. When we're talking about intimacy, so I'm wrapping this up, it is the act of coming into a common experience with another person. It's funny, but it's not, right? It's real. And they'll blame it on their ADD. Okay, let's talk about this. I don't mean to cut you off, but I need to say this before I forget. You just made your remembering what to say more important than what they're saying. Forget it. If you forget and it doesn't come back, then it's not that relevant. And if you're really listening, you're going to find something else to say. And then people who do that, they be like, not to cut you off. Yes, to cut me off. That's exactly what you're trying to do. Because you have something to say. You're not plugging into my experience. You are plugging into your experience of what I'm saying. And it's causing you to want to cut me off. Now, I'm not talking about cutting someone off because they're droning on and on for 2 hours. That's different. You're going to have to, I like to say, can we put a pin right there? Because you had said some stuff. That's different. But for some people, when you get started, if they get ignited in an emotion, they're going to cut you off. So we see the difference between validation, sympathy, and empathy. All of these can be useful in our lives. But the two you really want to plug in when you're trying to be close to someone is validation. And I'm going to put this video on YouTube because if you just popped on, you need to hear the first part, right? Validation and empathy. Those are very important. Okay? Sympathy has its place. And I'm not saying never sympathize. That's not what I'm saying. But don't let sympathy be the primary way you try to connect with someone, because you're not connecting. You're connecting with you. Did that make sense? Did you see something that could help you expand into a healthier way of communicating? Good. Listen, in your life, when you're trying to create intimacy, you should never have to beg. In your life, when you're trying to create intimacy, you should never have to beg. In your life, when you're trying to create intimacy, you should never have to beg. In your life, when you're trying to create intimacy, you should never have to beg. big, 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 big.